Finally found it right before it was open, which is probably why I when I walked past it.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unity Athens.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're so glad everyone is here this morning. So good to see so many faces, and to open us up in prayer, our wonderful Reverend Mary Covington, never retired Unity minister. I was looking forward for this because she reminded me we never retire. From Flint, Michigan, currently staying as a snowbird in the area, and she will open us up with prayer. So if you would, prepare yourself for prayer.
Thank you, Reverend Bronte, and Unity Athens. That's a marvelous thought. Unity, not of Athens, but Unity Athens. We are unified in knowing that there is God and there is love. And in that love we abide, dear precious Father, Mother God, spreading it out as wings of joy all over. wrapping it around those who need it and those who don't know that they need it. Spreading our wings of joy and peace and love into all of the world as it unifies and, to use a homemade term, peacifies the world this morning. We bless the Ukraine, we bless Russia, because peace is international, interdenominational, and interpersonal. We give thanks that we are able to affirm these things for our brothers and sisters in Christ. We give thanks that we are here this morning to reaffirm our own oneness with God. And for all of our blessings, both seen and not yet seen, we say, thank you, thank you, thank you, God. And so it is.
So it is. Amen.
Thank you so much, Reverend Mary. We appreciate your words and your presence most of all. Not presents like gifts, but yes, gifts. So presence is a gift, isn't it? We just play with words around here. Good to see everyone. Also, I had a lovely daily word printed out for someone to read, and it had all this beautiful red ink on it last night, and I was telling Terry Bear, who volunteered to read it, I can't find it. But it's always on the phone, so I'll read the daily word today from my phone.
Would you like a big copy?
Oh, yes, thank you. Blessings. Blessings everywhere, because see all that beautiful red? I was like looking at my printer last night and said, okay, I gotta watch the red cartridge now. So our word for today is joy. The affirmation is, I carry joy in my heart. You want to say that together? I carry joy in my heart. And feel that. Really feel the experience of that. What would that feel like if we're carrying joy in our heart? You might want to put your hand over your heart as we say it. I carry joy in my heart. Maybe your other hand. I carry joy in my heart. And maybe shout it out as loud as you're comfortable shouting it out. I carry joy in my heart. And there's more. My happy experiences and memories may lead me to feel joyful, but I know they are not the source of my joy. One of my divine gifts, joy, is part of my spiritual identity, as close to me as my next breath. Joy wells up and spills over within me when I bring my awareness to my spiritual nature and to my oneness with all good and all life. It is an attitude I hold in mind and a feeling in my heart. The happiness I feel in life depends on my allowing my inner wellspring of joy to come forth. I nurture my joy by maintaining a regular prayer practice that enhances my awareness of God, and by making time, not taking time, making time for the things that make me happiest. I go into the world grateful for the joy that resides within me, my gift to share generously. And from Isaiah 55, verse 12, for you shall go out in joy and be led back in peace. For you shall go out in joy and be led back in peace. And what's the affirmation again? I carry joy in my heart. Thank you, Reverend Mary. We are delighted to have a guest speaker with us this morning, Reverend Julie Boniger. Am I saying that right? I was wondering about the G, so I had to practice that. Practice. Boniger. And we'll tell you a little bit more about her in a few moments, but we do have some announcements. Yay! Announcements! Yes.
I'll clap for announcements.
when we were pretty much just Kevin and me for about 18 months, we had a recording with people cheering when we got to that part, so it worked really well. But it's much better to have the cheers in person. So there's some things going on this week and this month. First of all, this Wednesday, we have our first Wednesday of the month meditation. I lead that, and it's from 1 o'clock until 2 o'clock right here in the sanctuary. You don't need to come for the whole time. You can come in earlier or later or just spend 15 minutes as we pray and kind of maybe reset our internal spiritual compasses for the month. And I'm always happy to be here with you for that. Also, we have a prayer chaplain on duty today, and that is Mary Connor. She's raised her hand. We always have a prayer chaplain on duty, and I'm so grateful for our prayer chaplains. Martha is here also today. And they just do so many wonderful blessings for us. They call our congregants once a month and leave beautiful prayers, or if you don't want it to go into voicemail, a lot of us do, so we can play it over and over again. We get to hear the wonderful prayers in person. So if you have a prayer request, just go up to Mary, and raise your hand again, Mary, if you would, after the service and say, Mary, would you pray with me, please? And she will say, of course, of course. Other things that are going on, we are starting a new Thursday class. I will be teaching that, facilitating it. Is really more than teaching. It's drawing out our own inner wisdom on the readings that we do. And the book is The Science of Successful Living by Raymond Charles Barker. That's going to be every Thursday for 5 or 6 weeks, I believe. I already forgot the syllabus that I wrote up. And it'll be the doors will open at 12:30, so that's a little new. We will start at 12:45 with connecting, prayer and meditation, and the actual facilitation of the class will start at 1 o'clock and go until 2:30. What we found with the last class that I taught, it's wonderful to have breakout groups. So there's a half hour in that time frame of an hour and a half where we go into breakout groups with an assigned reading from the assigned chapter or chapters for that week, and you get to discuss it between yourselves. And we've just really enjoyed that so much. It's so much more interactive, and we also get to know each other better. So please let me know if you're interested in that. There are some copies of the syllabus over on the table over under the painting on the wall. And Raymond Charles Barker was an amazing, amazing teacher and minister. I did not know he was ordained Unity, but he was. And then he started following Ernest Holmes in Science of Mind, which is what CSL was called back then. And Ernest asked Raymond to start a church in New York, which had hundreds and hundreds of people going every Sunday. And then he was also an author. So I think you will enjoy the book, even if you're not able to be in class. You might want to read it on your own. We are not selling the book here, but you can get it easily on Amazon. So that is the end of this week's announcements. But for the month, next Sunday is Mother's Day. Yes, always a big Sunday at Unity and in other churches. We will have some gifts to give out. If you have noticed in the past for Mother's Day, we have a slideshow of people's mothers. And that is not just the female gender. This can be someone that nurtured you. That can be someone that supported you in your life. It can be your parents. It can be another person. Let us have a digital picture if you'd like, and we will show it on the slideshow. And some people bring in photos and put them on a table that we set up. And we do prayers for our mothers and our motherly people in our lives. Also, Arvin Scott is going to be our musician next week, so we're excited about that. Arvin hasn't been with us in a while, and we're delighted to have him back with his drums, and you can drum along with Arvin. And then the following Sunday will be Beatles Sunday, and we will have Sean Arrington here, and we'll have lots of Beatle music. And when we've done this in the past, some of us like to dress up in Beatle wear. And that includes the insects if you would like, but it might be easier to find Beatle wear as in the Beatles because they had so many different costumes. I think that is the end of the announcements. I'm trying to remember. Oh, I'm going to be up at Unity Village in June. Some of you know this already, to get my second ordination.
Pass through love and order.
Yes, absolutely. And we might have some kind of link that we can, it's Monday the 13th, we'll actually be going through the ordination ceremony. Quite a large group of us will be, and I think there'll be a link in case anyone wants to watch it or do a live watch here. But at some point in June, we're gonna have a party about this here.
Yes.
Some of my interfaith friends are already asking me when's the party, so we should have a party, right?
Yes.
So I'm hoping you'll celebrate that with me. It's been a very interesting long couple years, and I've learned so much, and Julie can share later if you like to talk to Julie, because she's also in the process of becoming a Unity minister. So give her a hand, because we know that she's going to be a good step too. I'm going to read the introduction for Julie, then we're going to have a song by Debbie Schroet. I actually met Julie at Debbie Schroet's Celebration of Life at Unity North Atlanta. And I was like, wow, she's a great speaker. We'd love to have her here at the church sometime. So I'll read this, and we'll have a song from Debbie Schroet, and we'll turn it over to Julie. Reverend Julie Boniger is the creative director at Unity North Atlanta Church in Marietta, Georgia, and she's an ordained interfaith, interspiritual minister with One Spirit Learning Alliance in New York City. Holding a BS in criminal justice and psychology. I was like, wow, when I was reading this the first time. Criminal justice and psychology. Julie spent the first part of her career working for United Way as a volunteer coordinator and assistant to a 24-hour crisis hotline. She's a manager for Borders Books and in human resources at Kennesaw State University. A journey with stage 3 breast cancer in 2014 led her to leave the corporate world and follow the call to ministry. As music director, she had the honor in helping people find their voice and to sing their soul's song. I bet some of you have a song in your soul too, don't you? Think about having a choir here sometime. As creative director, with Mary, yeah. I see it too. Let's hold that vision.
Everyone has a song.
Whole stage. Everyone can sing, and don't say I can't sing, because I know when I was at Unity Atlanta, our choir director always said everyone can sing. So, as creative director, she used her skills and experience in theater to create outdoor garden experiences and multimedia campus-wide services during COVID, which sparked her passion for creating out-of-the-box sacred experiences. So that's another thing to think of. What kind of out-of-the-box sacred experiences would you like to experience here at Unity Athens? We're always open to your ideas. And you might want to talk to Julie after the service about what kind of things she was doing. Continuing to follow the call, she is excited to be starting her journey this fall to become an ordained Unity minister. So what we're going to do, give her a round of applause now, then we're going to have a song, and then she's going to come up and give her message and meditation following her message. So thank you, Julie, for driving all the way from Kennesaw this morning. Appreciate you so much. Thank you, Debbie Schroet, for your presence here always, even though you left us in the physical. Well, you didn't leave us, but you dropped the body about 2 years ago almost, and Debbie Schroet is always with us. I feel her presence all the time. Kevin.
Imagine what could happen if you learn to love yourself as much as anybody else and weren't afraid to ask for help. Imagine your whole life as if it started all again, as if you had a second chance and knew that love would always win. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
imagine. I could not imagine being where I am right now if it wasn't for Debbie Schroet. I feel her presence here, as I know you do, and I just want to thank Reverend Bronte for this community and for Debbie for allowing me to see the possibility for myself long before I ever did. So I'm just so happy to be here. So, does anybody remember this sound? We were so excited. What was that sound? Anybody remember? Dial-up internet. So it was exciting in the beginning, right? Because it ushered in this new possibility of connection. But eventually, it became slow as we got things like DSL. Then suddenly dial-up became slow. I graduated college without the internet. How many here was a card-carrying adult sometime before the internet came? I feel like maybe most of, not all of us. Maybe not Kevin back there. But I went down into the stacks of Penn State Library to write papers with paper books. They don't even know how to do that anymore. I would go to the computer lab with a floppy disk to type my paper. And I remember at the time, the guys being so excited, I could hear them working there saying, "We can talk to UCLA, we can talk to UCLA," because the internet was finally coming. And we take it so much for granted now. We have 3 computers attached to us all the time. As technology advances, though, the programs got bigger and bigger and bigger and required more resources. So what happens if your iPhone or your computer or your phone slows down or doesn't turn on? You call tech support. What's the first thing they're going to tell you to do? Reboot. That is right. When you reboot, it frees up memory and shuts down processes running in the background. I know my mom's guilty of this. There's 4,000 games on the iPad and she doesn't swipe up, so they're all running in the background and we're not accessing them, but they're taking up precious resources. So in that sense, a spiritual reboot is what we're going to talk about today, and takes our outdated operating system, the program through which we see the world, made up of all the human interactions that we've had, resulting in subconscious beliefs that may be implanted, and optimize it. And we can do this while staying connected to power or source. Because when we do a soft reboot on our computer, we don't unplug it. It stays plugged into the wall. We can reboot spiritually while staying plugged into source. So how about this one? Does anybody remember having to defrag a computer?
Yes.
This goes way back. So when all hope was lost and it was taking 30 minutes to upload something, you could run a process called defrag, which was like watching Tetris. Because what happened in the computer is all these little pieces and parts started getting put in different places on the hard drive. So when the computer wanted to load it, it had to go and search for all these little pieces to put it back together. And the defrag process would allow it to find them and put them back together. Well, like our computers, we have pieces and parts of our history residing out there in our subconscious mind. Memories, stories we were told as children. And as we interact with the world around us, there's a subconscious part of us that is still accessing that. For instance, you show up at work, you walk in, and your coworker doesn't say hi to you. Right, immediately, my program that comes up is anytime I was ever ignored as a child. When I was bullied in 6th grade. Suddenly, I'm 12 years old again because my internal computer pulled that program. But we can reboot. We can defrag our belief systems and retrieve those pieces. And by doing so and bringing an awareness to how we can shift those beliefs, we can finally release them. So how do you reboot a computer? What do you have to do? Control, Alt, delete. So we're going to do that spiritually. Out of the gate, control is a doozy. It turns out there's not really much we can control, right? We can't control others. We can't control their opinions about us. We can't really control things that happen, depending, an accident or something. What can we control?
Our thinking.
Thoughts. I'm very interactive, by the way. I should have warned you. I break the fourth wall. I like it to be a give and take. Thoughts. Anything else we have control over?
Actions.
Thoughts, words, and actions. Yep, for us, no one else. And that's principle number 3, right? Thoughts. We have agency over our thoughts. Because we know in Unity, thoughts held in mind
Produce after their kind.
produce after their kind. So, because thoughts are things, they are energy, they're malleable, we can begin to control our conscious thoughts. And that has tremendous power to change our lives. But I'm not going to say bad news, but a bit of a wrinkle. Slide 2, our conscious mind can process 120 bits per second. If we have a little visual there. Or maybe not. It can. 120 bits per second. Nope, that's okay. It was just a little visual. Our subconscious mind can process, are you ready? 20 million bits of information per second. 20 million. 500,000 times more than our conscious mind can access. So much information is below the threshold of our conscious awareness, which, can be scary, but there is a silver lining, I promise. I mean, is it feasible then, if we know that much is going on below our awareness, to even try to control our conscious thoughts? Yes, the answer is yes. So, as my intro said, in 2014, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer and started on that whole journey, which I would still say is probably one of the best things that's ever happened, because it really reshifted everything of how I saw the world and my calling and the purpose of everything. So I was in the midst of treatment when one of my heroes, Wayne Dyer, came to speak at Unity North. And we're blessed to have had a lot of the big speakers, Deepak Chopra, all kinds, but he was my guy. And until then, I had missed every time that he came. Well, I don't know if some of you know, but he had cancer and cured it and had stayed completely healthy. So I wanted to know more than anything how to control my subconscious thoughts and fear around recurrence. Because of course the doctors are like, well, it was so aggressive and fast moving and got to so many lymph nodes that you have probably a 30% chance that it won't spread in 5 years. They don't know that. I really wish they would stop saying things, because they don't know the truth of any one person's journey. So I wanted to control that 500 million bits of information. So he walked up to me, saw my bald head. We were dressed exactly alike, because I was an usher. So I had on a white shirt and black pants and was bald, and he had on a white shirt and black pants and was bald. So I wish I would have thought to bring the picture, but there in the midst of 800 people, I got, bearing witness to this, I got to stand for about 10 minutes with him and have a one-on-one conversation. And the energy, you could just feel people holding the container. And so I said, look, what do I do? I'm sure there's all this fear going on. And he was like, that's crazy. If you start trying to control the fear you don't know about, no, don't do that. And I said, okay, well, what do I do? He said, the only thing you can do is to control your conscious thoughts and not worry about the rest. Because eventually a conscious thought will go to your subconscious when you hang on to it. But if you can allow it and release it, it doesn't take hold. I said, okay, and how do I do that? And he said, the dog from Up? Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. He said, any moment that you have anything unlike love and wholeness, immediately, there's my dog, there's a flower, a plane's overhead. Not some long meditation, not some big, I affirm that I am, divine and whole, which in meditation and prayer, yes, that's what you do, but you have to pattern interrupt. Whatever to take your mind and attention off that conscious thought, and eventually the subconscious thoughts will take care of themselves. And then he leaned in and he said, you want to know a secret? Yes, Wayne Dyer, I do want to know a secret. And he said, everyone thinks John of God cured my cancer, but he didn't. And I was like, am I the only one that knows? And he said, John of God helped remove the fear, and the cancer had no reason to stay. Yeah. And when, I was writing a book, and he said, send me your book. And so on the morning I woke and heard the news that he had left this body behind, I have to say, selfishly, my first thought was, no, because I wanted him to publish my book. But his family did the autopsy just to be able to say that indeed, at the time of his death, he died peacefully and there was no evidence of cancer. So, he said, stop trying to control something that you are not even aware of. Control what you are aware of. So, button number 1, control. Can't control anything but our thoughts, and then therefore our words and actions. So Alt, that's our next button. Once we bring into awareness the programs that are running, we can then start to alter the beliefs by shifting our conscious thoughts away from any error thinking toward divine mind. And it was not lost on me that I was like, shift? Well, that's a computer button. We have to hold down the shift key. I was like, there's so many computer metaphors in spirituality. I'm a huge fan of awareness. And in Unity, one of the things that as I'm taking these classes that I've really come to love and appreciate is a newfound love and respect for the Bible, both Hebrew and Christian scriptures, and my relationship with Jesus, the way shower. As an interfaith minister, I didn't have the opportunity to delve so much into the Christian traditions. And so part of the Unity teachings, of course, we can use denials and affirmations. And I was not a big fan of denials and affirmations, and I'm a little more open, and I feel like as I continue my studies that it's going to become more apparent. Because in my mind, I could not stand there, bald and not feeling great, and say, I do not have cancer. Now, I never said fight, did I? Or battle. I knew right away I had to love the experience, but it did not feel expansive for me to deny what was going on in my physical body. Even though I know on the plane of the divine mind, I was whole and complete and did not have cancer, I am inhabiting this body right now. And so what I like about the book is not Eric Butterworth, but Paul Hasselbeck in the Metaphysics book, the way he talks about denials and affirmations, he says denials are not meant to suppress or ignore the challenges in our lives. In fact, in order to successfully utilize the tools of denial and affirmation, we have to first recognize, which includes the facts of what's going on in the physical world. Because what's going on in the physical world is an outward manifestation of thoughts and words and thereby feelings. So stuffing it down and just going, it's not happening, for me did not work. Now it might work for other people, so I'm not saying that you can't, whatever you can use to get there, but for me, awareness without attachment has been my secret to releasing these subconscious things. So rather than saying, I do not have cancer, I would say, I am a child of God and therefore I do not inherit illness, which felt better, and that was Myrtle Fillmore healed herself of tuberculosis using that, and it took 2 years of constant, right? 2 years? 3? A long time. Years of concentrated effort, so much so that she sent the kids to live with like a sister because she needed to be in meditation every single day. And there's something about that I found much more powerful than poof, I'm healed, because yes, I believe it's possible. I think we've seen spontaneous remissions. I 100% believe in that, but I don't think it's the only way, and I don't think it's always the easiest way. Maybe you really have to be like steeped in it. Charles spent 60 years in constant meditation using denials and affirmations to heal his withered leg. 60 years, the rest of his life, and got to the point where it was better and he could walk, but constant vigilance. An affirmation then, on the flip side, is claiming that which we do know is already true in divine mind. For me, that goes to gratitude. I think, who else uses gratitude a lot? Yeah. So for me, gratitude with my body especially. Thank you, legs, for helping me walk, even if I'm feeling something other than really easy to walk. Thank you, eyes, that I can see. Thank you, hands, that I can touch. And that really works for me for an affirmation. So you can play around with that, with denials and affirmations, and what works for you. We're going to talk about Wayne Dyer's secret squirrel recipe in just a moment, which is the quick fix, kind of. So we have our control, we have our alt, which is bringing awareness to and altering our subconscious beliefs and allowing them. And then all we have left to do is delete. Once we become aware of it and recognize that we can only control our conscious thoughts, words, and actions, alter any error thought as it comes into conscious awareness, we can then delete those outdated programs. Because we're already holding down Control and Alt as a foundation, boop, delete. So it's the easy part, but we have to repeat it over and over and over again, almost moment by moment. My talk just disappeared. So much of the time, I think, when we have the time to be aware of things going on, say you get cut off in traffic, or you do walk in and the person ignores you. That was a big thing for me on my spiritual journey. I took everything personally. I still do, maybe not as much, but I'm hoping that this is the I was gonna say demon we wrestle. There aren't demons, but my growing edge is to live the 4 agreements and never take anything personally. But it's hard because those programs are running in the background. I was bullied in middle school, ostracized by children who would not come near me, and it has affected every single part of my life. And the shame and blame that I feel like, well, just get over it. You're an adult now. That wasn't a big deal. People have horrible things happen to them. That wasn't a big deal. But in my 11-year-old brain, however I was wired, at whatever time it happened, it was a big deal. And I have to let go of first the shame and blame of my own self before I can get down to those subconscious beliefs. So if I were to walk in a room and someone ignored me, that was it. I'm done. I'm terrible. Nobody cares. I don't deserve to be here. Now, if I walk into a room, on a really good day, I'll just be like, oh, they're having a bad day. Let me give you a hug. On an intermediate day, I might go, what did I do? And then go, nope. And then I have my squirrel moment. Pattern interrupt. And then I can change it. On a really, really bad day, for those of you out there watching, you cannot hear my mother just chuckling at the notion that I might still have an issue with this. On a really bad day, I come home and go, everybody hates me. But see, here's the thing. If we're ministers, you're all ministers. You are all called to minister to people in your lives. Every single person in this room. You cannot be perfect. If you think you're perfect or you're trying to be perfect, you're missing the whole point of life, which I think is to bear witness to each other in pain, in sorrow, in joy. It's just too much energy. So yes, I still have those days as well. So I went into meditation after Wayne Dyer, wanting this touchstone, because if I walk in and somebody ignores me, I don't have time to say, I am a child of God, they are divine, I am divine, this is not about me. He said, quick, down and dirty. So I went into meditation and I heard the word grace. And so I thought, grace, what does that mean? What does grace even mean? So grace is defined as unmerited divine assistance bestowed on humans for their regeneration or sanctification. Nope. Unmerited, bestowed, that's not helping my inner child, that I am unmerited and it must be bestowed. But then I thought, let me sit with this, let me reboot this and see if I'm missing a gift. Because really, grace is, the program that was running is I'm not worthy of grace. But grace is unmerited because we don't have to do anything to receive it, right? We are created in the image and likeness of God. We behold that divinity in each person, and we're worthy by the very fact that we exist. And it's not bestowed by any external God, but by the internal God. I thought, okay, I'll revisit grace. So I found this quote, grace, like water, flows to the lowest part. Yeah, I like that. It goes where it's needed. There it is, flowers. So sitting with and allowing grace, I became aware also of how much I've been rushing. I think we spent 2 years in COVID, maybe like chill, and now we're back out there, a lot of us. And this semester I'm taking prayer and meditation, and I am like, I can't get to the silence. So being able to sit with grace, I realized I am opening a subconscious program that I don't deserve to take up space. That was another one of mine. In the ATM, it was like, okay, somebody's behind me, or at the checkout. No. I deserve to take up space, and that trigger of that word helped me recognize that program. So now, I don't know if I have this next one on the quote or not. No, I don't. But here's one more grace quote. Grace comes into the soul as the morning sun into the world. First a dawning, then a light, and at last the sun in his full and excellent brightness. Thomas Adams. And so, grace isn't a gift bestowed, it's an internal realization that we deserve to take up space for the very fact that we are here, each one of us. So now, if someone cuts me off in traffic, grace. I walk in and, somebody doesn't say, hi, grace. I get a text that doesn't read correctly in my brain. Grace. Does anybody else do that? We should not text each other important things. If there is ever a time for your middle school self to be running a program in your subconscious, it is through a text message. Because communication is received in writing like 5%. And you're reading it through whatever lens you're feeling. So grace, it gives me the ability to practice the pause. So I'm going to take you through just a brief meditation and, see if you get a word. See if you get a pattern interrupt. It doesn't have to be one word. It doesn't have to be anything. Maybe you have a touchstone. Maybe you have, a flower. I use flowers sometimes. And for me, this is different than the white stone experience. Because you guys do white stone? When you get your word, your new name for white stone, that's something like you're embodying. That's your new name that you're calling forth. This for me is just that squirrel moment, that word that is literally, doesn't even matter what the word is. It could be like bratwurst. if that's the word that comes to you, Spirit said that's your word. It's all our goal is to pattern interrupt our conscious thought. And that's how we can reboot at any time. Simply remembering we cannot control others. We can only control our conscious thoughts. Allow our feelings to come forward and be aware that there are subconscious programs at work and alter those thoughts around them, and then delete those programs that no longer serve us. And then do it again. And then do it again. And then do it again. So, I invite you to get still. Just going to go into a time of silence and a little bit of a guided meditation. So, take a breath. And on the exhale, begin to feel gratitude for the breath that keeps us here in this moment, for the chair that holds us, for the consciousness and energy in this room, beholding the highest and best, recognizing grace and divinity. On the next breath, feel Mother Earth energy coming up through your feet into your heart space. Perhaps it's a color, a sensation. Allow whatever comes. As you breathe out, feel that energy go through your crown chakra, out into the room, filling the space with our communal spirit. So I invite you to think of a happy place, somewhere you feel connected to the divine. Somewhere where you feel the true essence of the truth of who you are. As you enter into this place, become aware of any sounds, sights, textures. Is it cool? Warm? Allow yourself to rest in this place. Any thoughts that come, just say thank you for sharing. Don't follow them. Don't resist. Don't alter. As we move into a period of extended silence, I invite you to be open to anything that comes. It might be a word, might be a feeling, a color, an object, a person. Be open to any message Spirit may give you without attachment, expectation, or plan. For as we sit in silence together, there is power. When we release distractions, our energy is free to move about and support and love of the highest and best for each of us. And so let us sit together in silence. Begin to come back to your breath. Feel your feet on the floor, your essence in the room. Perhaps you got a word or a gift from Spirit, or it may come later. Be open. Be open to receive. For you are grace. You are love. And so it is. Amen. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me here in your space. Thank you, Reverend Bronte. It was wonderful to meet you. Thank you, Debbie Schroep, for coming on this journey today, and for all of you. It has been a real pleasure being with you. And I believe Bronte's going to be up shortly to finish off. And if anybody got a word and wants to share.
Anyone have a word they want to
Anybody
share?
Or an object or a browse? No? Not yet?
Join me in giving her a blessing and a round of applause. We'll start with a round of applause.
Pleasure.
We bless you and appreciate you so much, and we just see you sailing forth through this wonderful journey of ministry, and we're delighted that you're with us today. If you would like her to come back, give a big round of applause.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. This was my first non-Unity North appearance, so my first church ever, and it was a delight. Thank you.
And thank you, Kevin, once again for doing a great job with the slides. I was like, oh, the slides are rolling on and off. That's fabulous. So thank you, Kevin. You are also always so much appreciated. And I have a wonderful mental picture of Wayne Dyer and you standing together and talking. That's an absolutely wonderful, wonderful story. Appreciate it so much. So before we leave, we always like to have the opportunity to give, and as we give, we receive. It's a principle. We are not trying to raise money. We are holding the vision of us continuing to be blessed financially. Every day I'm so grateful for this building, this wonderful Unity experience, for all that we've done here in Athens. And every time during the last 2 years when things started to get a little bit, are we gonna make it? Things would pour in. So we appreciate your financial support. If you're able, whether you're doing it as a consistent giver or whether you are donating online, supporting us online, you can do that through our website at unityathens.com. We also have a card reader back in the office, and we're gonna just pass the baskets gently in a minute. Just, know blessings, and maybe there's someone on your heart or your mind that is struggling, and as you give, you're also spreading that energy of receiving so that those in your sphere, in your acquaintance, in your areas are just also receiving as we give. We hold our gifts or our offerings or the thought of our abundance over our heart, if you'd like, as we say our sacred exchange affirmation together. And use your name for God when we get to the God word. We say God a lot here at Unity, but people have different names for the infinite. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am so blessed. Thank you, Infinite Spirit. And so it is. I'm going to put my offering in the basket, the Sacred Exchange basket too, but there's a basket going around if you'd like to put something in there.
Sit.
Please remember that we have a class starting this week on Thursdays, and that's going to be from 12:45 until 2 o'clock. Doors will open at 12:30. If you'd like more information on the book, I do believe I have a copy in my office. My copy, it's not for sale, but you can get them on Amazon, and they arrive very quickly. It only took a couple days. And again, it's just, I had the original 1957 edition, apparently read it back in ministerial school 22 years ago. It's so yellow from my highlighting, and then I decided to change markers at some point, and then the rest of it's like orange. Mary's laughing because she's seen my papers and knows that too. And then there's little marks and stars in the columns and the corners and things underlined, and little sticky notes that are like falling apart with age on some of the pages. But oh, I love that book. There's a quote from it in our weekly e-newsletter. And for those of you that are watching online, thank you for being with us here today. Thanks, Terry, for watching today, and Beth and some others. Always good to see your comments. And if you haven't, put up a like or a heart, or if you're here for the first time online, please let us know where you're watching from. And if you'd like us to reach out to you or send you the e-newsletter, email us your private email address at unityathens@gmail.com. Also, Peggy Olson has a continuing Tuesday and Thursday morning gathering from 6:30 to 7:30, perfectly called Early Birds, and they, Early Bird Book Lovers, I think is the entire title, right, Peggy? She'll put a note up. And if you want to find out how to get on that Zoom, it is Zoom. Don't show up at Peggy's house at 6:30 with your coffee, okay? Unless you got a lot of extra coffees and really good coffee. But just do it on Zoom, and Peggy covers a multitude of different subjects and topics, including some of our booklets. Also, if you're here for the first time in person, that table over there has all the booklets you want, and you can take extras and give them to someone else if you would like.
Mention the title of the book again.
Yes, the science of successful living. Thank you. Did I get it right? Yeah, I highlighted it. I didn't highlight it in my brain as far as the title of the book. By Raymond Charles Barker. There's a 1957 edition that's out of print, and there's a newer edition, and there's syllabi and a copy of that newer edition that I suggest you get if you're going to get it, about $10 on Amazon. Class will be fabulous. They always are. And thank you again, Julie, for being here. And there's the picture. So talk to Julie after the service and you can see the wonderful picture of the day that she and Wayne Dyer decided to dress alike, okay? It was divine happening.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have our prayer of protection, and then we will sing our Send Our Love. And as we do that, as Julie mentioned too, we're not just praying for Ukraine, we are praying for Russia and world peace and love and light, and for people finding ways out of conflict. You know, in Unity they teach a good way to, when you're in conflict with someone, is to go heart to heart. So when we go heart to heart with the conflicts in the world, I think they feel our energy. So let's say our prayer for protection by James Dillard Freeman. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God washes over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Interesting, I said the power of God washes over us. So watches and washes, it certainly does. And if you'd like, we can sing our song, I Send My Love. This is by Karen Drucker. It's so appropriate. If any of the prayer chaplains want to come up and bless our globe, our world, that would be fine too. And step over there and do that. I send my love. Let's get a little more volume on it, Kevin. Thank you. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my love,
Send our love
over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my joy,
and our joy.
over the mountains. I send my joy over the sea. I send my joy into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my power, over the mountains. I send my power, over the sea. I send my power, into the heavens, and it returns to me.
And peace.
I send peace over the mountains. I send peace over the sea. I send peace into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my power, over the mountains. I send my power, over the sea. I send my power, into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my love. Feel that love flowing out, touching hearts, touching lives. Over the sea. I send my love. Wherever there is anything unlike love, we send love. Blessing our earth, blessing our world, blessing every single individual. Our flora, our fauna, returns to me. Our world, our air, our dear ones, our friends, ourselves. Feel that love going out, returning, flowing out, stay.